I was told I'd probably never walk without a stick. And when I mentioned climbing, I was laughed at by the doctors, or one specific doctor. And he came into my room at the time, and I asked him these questions. He said, "Well, no, listen, you've got to be realistic. You're never going to climb again." And it absolutely crushed me.
All right, you're listening to Hawke Talk. I'm here today with Kenton Cool. How are you?
Good. Yeah. Good day in the office, which is one of those things. But we build up to Pakistan. I head to Pakistan on an expedition on Saturday, and we are
Amazing.
putting the final touches together. So productive day, 5:30 here in the
Yep.
UK, yeah, it's been a good one.
Well, thank you for taking some time out. That's a big trek. So I assume the day you're born, you pop out and you just start scaling the building in the hospital, right? You just immediately had to go up. Is that fair assumption?
No, not really. I mean, I came into climbing a little bit later in life. Actually, when I was born, I was quite a sickly child. I spent
Oh,
I know, nearly 4 months in hospital. Uh,
wow. Were
essentially,
you premature? What happened?
no, I just had there was a medical complication where part of my bowel collapsed.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was on quite literally death's door for a little while. Must have been super um, anxious for my parents.
Yep.
So, certainly didn't pop out the room and start scaling walls. I was stuck and taped down in an incubator
Oof.
for a little while.
Got it.
No, the
And
whole
we
climbing came a little bit later. I was about 17, 18 when
okay.
climbing sort of became the thing for me.
And
Um,
so and
yeah,
you're from the UK, I take it, correct?
yeah, absolutely. Born just outside London.
Great. Got it.
Yeah, London boy.
And, your parents, what kind were they big adventurers? Were they big outdoors people? What
Well, this is a really interesting thing. I grew up inside the M25. So think London,
yeah.
Greater London. But, and this is a differentiator, my father was a scout leader. Then
Okay.
Boy Scouts, now
Yep.
Scouts. So, I was super lucky in terms of my touch point to the great outdoors, to
Yep.
adventure, was essentially through him and through the Scout Association. And for me, growing up, that was where it essentially all started.
Got it. And so did he grow up being he was a Boy Scout growing up and all that too before you?
Yeah, and then he took a little bit of a hiatus when I was born. I mean, he was a scout leader and all of
Yeah.
that. He was, our family was heavily involved with the scout movement.
Okay. Yeah.
He took a little hiatus when I was born, and then when I joined, he got back involved and ultimately became my scout leader, which
Huh.
was a little bit odd, perhaps, but it worked really well.
Yeah. And what was his, like, day-to-day focus, his job, his career?
He was a photographer.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
the slight issues that we've been having with cameras
Yeah.
today, and, I'm looking at mine, I'm really burnt out. Now, I
All good.
inherited none of that photographic skill, the ISO numbers, the exposure levels,
Yep.
the ASA, whatever. I mean, if I can't point and shoot on an iPhone, I'm all at sea. So
Well,
yeah, he
thankfully,
was.
the technology is pretty good now.
Yeah, well, we say that, but I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at my picture on the screen here, and I look flushed out. But we'll go with it. And
We work with
Dad,
what we got.
forgive me, okay?
Was your mom also very involved with what you were doing growing up too, or what was
Yeah,
she
very
like?
much so. I mean, we were a really tight family growing up.
Uh-huh.
There was no money within the family. So my mother picked up piecemeal work. She was a checkout assistant for a while. She worked in the
Yeah.
local supermarket for a bit. She was a stay-at-home mum as well. And then she became a Cub Scout leader, so she was
Oh,
involved with the Scouts as well. I look back on, I pity my sister a little bit, but yeah, we were all very much bonded, and our big thing was the Scout Association, and
yeah.
for me that gave me, as I said, the access to camping and lighting
Yeah.
fires. You have to remember the wilderness in the UK is not the same as wilderness in the US. We don't
Right.
have these great expanses of national parks. We can't. Every time I've been to the US, which is numerous times, and you go to these national park campsites, and there's a fire pit and a table, and
Yeah.
it's all set up really, really well. We don't have that in the UK. So, when I say touch point to the wilderness, take it with a slight pinch of salt compared with the US.
But I am curious in the wilderness in the UK, like obviously, as you said, you might not have the manicured campsites, but do you have true wilderness? It's not, I mean, I've spent some time in the UK, but not out in the wilderness, so to
Yeah,
speak.
I mean, we do in Scotland.
Yeah.
In Scotland, you can literally walk for days without coming across a road and things like that.
Yeah.
But the UK is small. I mean, we're
Yeah.
probably smaller than your smallest state.
Right.
It's heavily populated. 70 odd million people live here. So in England, and the other thing with England, we don't have a right to roam. So we can't just go anywhere. I think it's probably similar in the US. We can't
Yeah.
go simply anywhere we want to. You can't wild camp anywhere.
Right.
Different in
Yeah.
Scotland. There are different rules in Scotland. There is right to roam. There is the ability to
Huh.
wild camp. So, but we do have pockets of wilderness. You can go down to Dartmoor. You can go up to North Wales, perhaps the Lake District, but not on the same expanse or vastness that you would get in the US.
Yep. Got it. And so, at what age did you start doing the scouts?
Oh God, I mean, I started as a cub, so I was probably about 8.
Okay.
And then it was right through till I left to go to university. So I was
Yep.
pushing 19 when I left the university.
Nice.
And it was, honestly, Eric, it was pretty much every day of the week. So, Friday night was the
Yeah.
scout meet, and it was 2 hours. But, if I wasn't doing something, my dad was doing something. If he wasn't doing something, my mother was doing something. It was hanging up the wet canvas after
Yeah.
camping. It was going up to the scout hut to sweep the floor, to whatever it may be. It was pretty much 5, 6, 7 days a week,
Yeah.
every single week. But it was a good grounding. It produced habits of looking after equipment and cleaning equipment, and perhaps going that extra mile to get stuff done, and not always getting the gratification coming back to you from others that you might expect. There was this just expectation that the canvas would be ready for when we go in camping
Yeah.
on a Friday night, but not many people would realize that my father and I will be doing that on a Wednesday and possibly Thursday evening beforehand to make sure
Yeah.
it's ready. Come Sunday night, Monday night, we're hanging up the wet canvas, we're packing it away Tuesday, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, it's easy to resent it when you're 12, 13, but I think it's put me in a pretty good stead to where I am today.
Yeah. And so, growing up that way, what was it? Did you have? I think every kid has the. What do you want to be when you grow up? Did you have thoughts of what
Fighter
that was?
pilot. Similar to that, I want to be a
Fighter
fast.
pilot?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this was before Top Gun.
Yeah.
When Top Gun came out, it just
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
founded what I wanted to do. Yeah, and even today, I have this geek-like passion for aviation per se, but especially
Yeah.
military aviation. Always been super interested in it. So yeah,
Did you ever get your pilot's license?
no, 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 no. It's not gone that
No
far.
time.
Yeah, I mean, there's still time, but yeah, it just I don't want to fly one of those little planes and do all the paperwork. I just want to get in it,
Yeah.
fly really fast, drops a few
Have you
bombs.
done it? Have you
And
jumped in? Have you done the fighter
no,
jet?
no, no,
So
no.
I got someone to connect you in Portugal that I've got a. He actually was on the podcast. Former Navy SEAL that then did some flying as a civilian with Top Gun
Oh
and
wow,
has a stunt plane. He moved to Portugal into Lisbon.
yeah,
Has
yeah.
a stunt plane. I've been up with him and done barrel rolls and
Oh my god, were you
loops
sick?
and all of it. What's that?
Were you sick?
No,
Oh
he's
wow,
actually really smooth. It was actually very pleasant. I joked with my wife. I'm like the way he communicates too. Like a lot of military guys, you assume they're going to be all fired up, especially Navy SEALs and like edgy. And every Navy SEAL I know is like super calm and collected. So like we went to barrel roll and he literally goes, "All right, just hang on and we're gonna roll over."
oh
it
wow.
was like it was like the most calming, soothing thing as we did a barrel roll 1,000 feet off the ground in New York City.
Just absolutely epic. I know, full of admiration for those that do fly, and even more admiration for those on the front line in our military services. I mean, they clearly do a great job and very top of the game. But growing up, that is what I wanted to be. And actually, a mate of mine who was in the scouts with me, he did go on to fly fast jets for the RAF. So yeah, very envious. Um,
Yeah. And so going to college, did you have that still in mind? Were you like, I want to go figure this
No,
out?
I mean, but by this stage, I kind of realized I probably wasn't bright enough.
You weren't what?
I wasn't bright enough. I wasn't clever enough
Huh.
to to pass all the
From academically or
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah. Because you have to remember that the US, UK armed forces, like our wilderness, is tiny compared with the
Yeah.
US. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's just a fraction of the size. And so there was a realization that that probably wasn't going to happen. I did apply for a scholarship into the army because I thought the
Uh-huh.
army would be an extension. I was big into sport and I loved the outdoors, and I thought the army might be an extension of that. I actually failed that scholarship
Got it.
interview, and then I went to university and just saw a completely different way of life. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, actually, maybe the military is not where I want to be going. So I left university, not quite knowing what I wanted to do.
What'd
Uh,
you study?
I studied geology, so rocks and
Okay.
minerals. And everybody goes, "Well, that's really good for your job," but actually, I mean, we don't use geology being a mountain guide. I
Yeah.
can give you the top line on what the rocks are, but nobody wants a chemical composition or what granite is or
Yeah.
anthracite or
Funny enough, another person we had on the podcast was a doctor of geology and ended up she's head of NASA's planetary division. So study of all the planets now. So
yeah.
that is the path you could have gone down.
Yeah, yeah. Or the other one is the oil industry. I mean, sort of
Yeah.
the oil industry was an obvious one for me because of the little subsidies that I took.
Yeah.
In terms of like oil exploration, I was perfect for that. But even that, I kind of shied away from and moved back into London and
Mhm.
got some crappy jobs working in retail and actually ended up working on building sites,
Okay.
construction sites
Yeah. Makes
to,
sense.
to earn the money to then just go away on my expedition. But I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think if we
No.
pigeonhole ourselves too early,
Yep.
then we potentially miss out on other opportunities. I mean, I didn't leave university thinking that I wanted to be like a high altitude mountain guide.
Yep.
That you go to the careers office at university, you're not given that option. um,
I mean, I went to the careers office at my university. I graduated in 2008, right as the world was collapsing financially, and they were like, "You can be a manager at Target," and I was like,
yeah, you're like, yeah,
I just spent 4 years at university. I could have done that without coming here. What are you talking about?
yeah, yeah. Don't talk about being overqualified.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, for any of the next
You
generation listening to this, if you don't know what that career path looks like, don't panic. Just literally don't
Yep.
panic because these little opportunities come along that you're just not expecting,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden you're seeing other things. Go traveling. Expose yourself to as much stuff as possible, and once you've
Yep.
done that, then think about, well,
Yep.
actually, maybe I need to go in this direction, this direction, this direction. So,
Yeah. No, I think that's really correct. I think trying things is super important, being proactive, but stressing out about not nailing the thing you're gonna do for the rest of your life, it's okay. Got a
yeah,
long time.
especially when you're like 21, 22. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
yeah, you're out of college, out of university,
Yeah.
you've lived this much of your life. I
Yeah,
mean,
my view of it is spend your teens and 20s just trying a bunch of stuff unless you nail it. Like some people find it right away and great, good for you. But if you don't, like just keep trying things and sifting through and then 30s start to build a little more of a foundation. 40s is when you probably have some obligations you got to cover and have to probably make a choice.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
100% in agreement with that. Especially if you want a sort of fulfilling life. As I say, I mean, there are the outliers that will get into finance super early and
yeah.
be unbelievably successful in that. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't get too hung up on not knowing what your career is age 22, 23,
Yeah.
24.
No. And so were you doing these treks and adventures like all through university and post?
Yeah,
You
I
mentioned.
mean, I think so. I mean, I started climbing just before I went to uni. Yeah, I took myself off to the European Alps with a school friend of mine, and we had really cool adventure. We didn't know very much. It was a very steep learning curve. And then when I got to Leeds Uni, I dropped in with a group of people at I suppose you call it like a climbing society, the climbing club at Leeds Uni,
Mhm.
and huge amounts of energy, and you couldn't help get caught up with that. And I think it was the end of my second year of studies. I took myself off to Pakistan for 7 weeks
Oh wow.
in the summer break, And that was
Mhm.
my first Himalayan expedition. There was what, 6 of us, I think, went from Leeds, or were loosely affiliated with Leeds Uni. Uh, and that was a real eye opener. It's just like, oh my god, I'd never travelled to Southeast Asia before.
Yep.
Never travelled to the Himalayas. Certainly hadn't travelled to Pakistan and places, and just saw something completely different, a completely different way of life, and fell in love with it. I just thought, wow, these people with nothing. It's a very misunderstood country, Pakistan. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, Pakistan is Afghanistan. It's they're
Yep.
harbour terrorists, and that's really not the case. They are very generous-hearted individuals over there. And I kind of decided that the expedition life was something that I really enjoyed. It gave me a purpose for traveling. Um, and then as soon as I finished university, I was straight back out to Nepal, and it sort of just started to snowball from there, knowing that I wanted to do expeditions, and the
Mhm.
key thing for me was, well, how can I fund this?
Yep.
Um, without a full-time career or anything like that. Because if you've got a full-time career, you're not gonna have the time to go and do it. But if you've
Right.
got time to go and do it, you don't necessarily have the resources, i.e. the money, to go and
Yep.
do it. So it was just finding this balance. What could I do to find this sweet spot between the two?
And so what was that? You mentioned working in construction sites
Yeah,
and all that.
it was construction sites. So in the UK, we have something called IRATA, and it's basically working at height. So think using the easiest way to think about it is window cleaning. Okay,
Yep.
how do you window clean if the building doesn't have a structure that comes down? I think
Yep.
we call it like a trolley
Yep.
thingy. And the easy way to do it is, you get a bunch of climbers like me, they throw ropes down the side. We abseil down with buckets and squeegees and
Yep.
stuff, and we clean the windows.
Yeah.
So I did a myriad of jobs similar to that for best part of 10 years.
Uh-huh.
And I was essentially self-employed. I would
Yep.
work with different companies. I would be in India. I would finish an expedition. I would ring up the company or the companies, and just say, you got any work on? And it was either yes or no. If they did, I would come
Yep.
home and start working for another like 3 months. And if they had no work on, well, I might stay in India or wherever I am. And I mean, that was 10 years worth of funding expeditions by
So you
essentially.
would stay in India and find work there too?
No, I never worked in India, but it was cheaper to
Okay.
live in India than it would be to live
Right.
in the
Yeah.
UK.
I
So,
actually taught school in India, so spent some time there.
oh, did you?
Yeah, it is very inexpensive. It's an
Yeah, yeah,
understatement.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
why fly back to the UK to,
Right.
you know? So, I would spend a bit of extra time and then come back, start work again. I was living in Sheffield at the time, which is a
Mhm.
climbing hub. Lots of climbers live there, and pretty much live hand to mouth,
Yep.
just scraping enough money together for the next expedition, and off I go.
I was gonna say, was it very much in the moment, or were you like trying to build something for the future, or like trying to get enough climbing in so that you could turn it into a job, or was it more just like I need to pay the bills so I can go on the next trek?
Yeah, it was exactly that. It was the latter.
Yeah.
It was, pay
Yeah.
the bills so I could go to the next trek, the next expedition.
Yeah.
The the premise of trying to monetize what I was doing, i.e., climbing, didn't come. There was an epiphany moment. I'd just come back from India, so it would have been 99 or 2000, possibly 2001, I forget. And I was at Heathrow Airport. I've just flown back from Delhi, and I had these huge bags with me, full of climbing kit. There's a porter ledge, one of those ledges that you
Mhm.
set up on the wall. Um, I don't know how many $1,000s, but tens of $1,000s worth of equipment. And I grew up near Heathrow, and I needed the bus money to get back home, and I didn't have enough money. It was like less than $5, but for
Mhm.
the bus home, and I didn't have $5 to my name. So I had to go around Heathrow Airport asking people for enough money to get back to where my parents live. I mean, I was living in Sheffield, but I always used to drop in on my parents, have a
Mhm.
hearty meal, catch up with them, and then work out how I'm going to get back to Sheffield. And I didn't have the money to get home. And so I was going around asking people, and I was just looking at my bags, thinking, "Oh my god, I've got tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment in these bags."
Yeah.
On the front cover of climbing magazines, I'm an acclaimed alpinist, Himalayan climber, and I don't have $5 to my name. This is ridiculous. I need to do something. If I'm going to continue doing this, I need to
Yeah.
do something to try to monetize what I'm doing, because this is not sustainable.
Yep.
Um, And it wasn't long afterwards, I was working down on the south coast. I was working on an oil refinery. Um, we were working on one of the big flare stacks, so the flames come out the top, and we were doing maintenance on it at height. And a buddy of mine said, "Right, I'm putting in an application to be a international mountain guide. Um, why don't we do it together?" And it's like, well, why not? Let's just give it a go. So I hastily put the application together in my lunch hours because it's quite a big application format that you've got to go through. So I put in the application. Oddly, because this was quite unusual at the time, got accepted first time, and that was the start of the training and assessment process to become a qualified, what we call an IFMGA mountain guide. So that's the top
Yep.
gun of international guiding qualification.
Got it.
And that was probably 2003, something like that. I qualified in 2006, I think 2006, seven. I qualified.
And had you already done Everest and all these big peaks already?
Yeah, I had to an extent. So
Okay.
oddly, Eric, I mean, get your head around this. Possibly the most dangerous place in the world in terms of mountains, the Himalayas. You
Yeah.
do not need a guiding qualification. So if you wanted to go across there and call yourself like Eric Mountain
Yeah.
Guide, here we go, sign up with me, go to Everest. You've got no prior experience, more power to
Yeah.
you. You are legally allowed to do that.
Unregulated. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, it's different in the US, it's different in Europe, but in the Himalayas, go for your life.
Yeah.
So I had already been to Everest. I first on Everest in 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't qualify as a mountain guide till I think 2006, seven.
Got it.
So
Did you make it to the peak?
on
Like,
Everest, my first, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So very small expedition, two clients. I was working for a British guiding company called Jagged Globe. I think they're still going.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're super successful there. Everybody got to the summit. No frostbite, no death, obviously.
Nice.
I came home and I decided that actually this was something which it was bringing together, everything I loved. Looking after clients, working in
Yeah.
the mountains, working with Sherpa teams. It was all of a sudden it's like this is what I want to do.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and it kind of went from there.
And how did that progress to take a step back? Like you took a trip to Pakistan, then you end up in the Himalayas. Like at what point did you get pulled into going up Everest, or was it always in the cards? You were always like,
No, no,
"That's
it was never on the cards. I mean, for me, Everest was this behemoth mountain that was very expensive to go to.
mhm,
You predominantly, not everybody, but predominantly people use supplementary oxygen. So think the oxygen tanks on your back,
yeah,
and it technically isn't that hard by the routes that we take with clients. It's
yeah,
comparatively straightforward. And at
yeah."
the time, I was all about lower peaks, higher technicality, like really cutting edge alpine style climbing in the Himalayas.
Is that ropes, axes,
Oh yeah,
ice
very much
climbing?
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
Sherpa support. You
yeah,
might be on the mountain for 7, 8, 9 days at a time.
yeah,
Very committing. Um, but that doesn't really lend itself to taking clients in that style.
right,
So Everest wasn't on my radar, and it was 2003. We had just been on, I say we, it's an American guy, Johnny Varco, myself, and another English guy, Ian Parnell. We had just put up a hard new route on Annapurna 3 out in Nepal. And we were nominated for the PLA Door, which is a climbing Oscar. We didn't win it, but we were nominated for it. There's only
mhm,
5 teams, I think, nominated each year. And on the back of that, I got a telephone call from this company, Jagged Globe. I've been doing a little bit of work for Jagged Globe in the Alps. And they rung me up and just said, how would you feel about going to Everest as a tail guide, an assistant guide? I'm
yeah,
like, yeah, kind of, Anyway, he then wrote, the owner then rung back about a week later and said, so things have changed and the main guide has dropped out. How do you feel going as the lead guide?
a lead guide
And
with no experience
we,
actually
yeah,
walking up it.
yeah, and we can pay you. And it took me about half a second to decide. I'm like, hell yeah, all over that.
So being the lead guide on a mountain you've never been on though, how does that work?
Well, the qualification that I hold, the IFMGA
Yeah,
qualification, should mean that if you do enough research and background, due diligence, you should be able to go to a mountain within
Yeah.
reason and be able to legitimately guide it.
Yeah.
Everest is a little bit different because it is slightly different guiding styles, but you always work with a very competent Sherpa team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was not proud enough not to ask questions, or I
Right.
wasn't too
Yeah.
proud not to ask it. So I
Yeah.
just asked loads of questions. I mean, half the questions were probably ridiculous. It
Yeah.
really heavily leaned on the Sherpa team that I was working with. We were sharing base camp with another Everest team, so I would lean on the guy that was running that operation because he'd been there a number of times before. And I just asked and asked and asked and asked and asked and asked.
Yeah.
And as I said, having a super competent Sherpa team who, to be honest, can take up a lot of the slack.
Yeah.
That was the way that I probably got through the first couple of years on that mountain. Um, I often say to people it was probably 2006 or possibly even 2007 that my leadership on that mountain was validated.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think you could just turn up to Everest and call yourself an Everest guide leader. It takes time.
Yep.
But as I say, I mean, I was blessed by having a community around me who were happy to share knowledge. Um,
Yep.
that was critical.
Amazing. And most of your clients are these people that just like literally want to just check the box. I want to climb Everest. Someone help me do this.
Yes, I mean, so someone like that. I mean, I work in a very bespoke way now. I work predominantly one on one. I work with high net worth, ultra high net
Hmm.
worth individuals. I don't work in a bigger group
Hmm.
scenario. So I can lend all my energy into that individual, as can the Sherpa team.
Hmm.
Some people are just after the summit, but predominantly because we spend quite a lot of time working together to build up to Everest. It's not just let's meet in Kathmandu and off we go. I
Yeah.
spent 2, maybe 3 years working with these individuals,
Yeah.
and then
Is that about the prep time it takes for
yeah.
someone to?
Well, I think that's the prep time it
Yeah.
takes. And then that's as much about building relationships, i.e., getting to know the individual. So if you do have to make tough decisions, you've got a meaningful relationship.
Yeah.
And you know what they do when they get hungry or tired or
Yeah.
cold and all these sorts of things.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
does that cost, if you don't mind me asking, high net worth? What do they spend on 3 years of prepping and going up Everest? What
so
is the
so
kind of?
with me, I mean, you're looking at somewhere between three and $400,000. But I mean, it depends on the individual and how much
Yeah.
training and time we need to spend with each other.
Yeah.
But that's roughly what you're
Yeah.
looking at.
And
So
what about for someone that isn't looking for like this bespoke treatment? Like, what is someone that I want to say an everyday person because it's not an everyday person, but I have a lot of friends that have climbed Everest.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
curious,
So,
like, what is?
so I mean, you can go with one of the Sherpa operated
Yeah.
teams for probably 45, 50K dollars.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
If you go with someone like AAI or Madison Mountaineering or Furkenbacher Ventures, you're
Mhm.
probably looking at not much change out of 100, 120. So there's,
Mhm.
there's different levels depending on how
Yeah.
much support that you want or don't want. So
Yep. Got it.
so yeah, so that takes that gives you an idea about what the spreads are
Yeah.
like.
And so you went and got this certification, and then was that it? No more other jobs? You got to be a full time guide and climber?
Pretty much. Until I met my wife, and then she was like, "So, what are you going to be doing for work in 5 years?" Because I had a really serious climbing accident back in the '90s, and so I ended up with quite a lot of metal in my lower part of my legs, and
Well, yeah, what happened? Let's
oh, I,
see.
I I fell off rock climbing.
Yeah.
I literally made a mistake and pulled a hold off a thing. I hit the ground. Spent four and a bit weeks in hospital, 3 operations, 3.5 months in a wheelchair. Basically, had to learn to walk again. So for many people, you could say, well, guiding probably wasn't the best avenue to go down. But it's what I love. And when I met Jazz, she started to ask the rather probing questions. Well, what are you going to do in 5 years? What are you going to do in 10 years? And I was all about just the guiding. And she said, well, if you keep guiding at the level that you are currently, at the rate that you are guiding, because they're doing a lot of it, she said, you're going to be crippled. You're not going to be able to do these things because your injury is going to catch up on you. So I've kind of morphed a little bit. I did quite a lot of corporate speaking into organizations, and I co-founded and run a performance coaching company for
What
individuals.
year was that you started exploring other things?
Yeah, so I just started to diversify, and
Yeah, I'm saying what year? When was that?
so this would have been about 7 or 8, 2007, 2008.
Oh, okay, so right after you got your guiding
Yeah, not
license.
long afterwards, because
Yeah,
that's when I met Jazz.
yeah,
It's not to earn more money, it's to
yeah,
actually prolong my life as a mountain guide. Um,
yep,
so it's like the diversification, so I'm not
yep,
pounding my body day in, day out. And one of the oddities, Eric, is you can you can actually do the act of guiding and get paid X, or you can
mhm,
talk about the learnings from
yeah,
climbing and get paid 10, 20, 30X by
yeah.
big organizations. And that's something I've never quite got my head around. On one hand, you might die actually in the act. On the other one, well, you might let down a client or an organization because it doesn't quite resonate with their delegates.
Yeah, but I would say that the interesting thing about capitalism and business in that sense, because I this is why I built my company, which we haven't talked about, but I have about a 250 person marketing agency. And when I first started it, I was 26 and someone offered to pay me $25,000 to help them write a business plan, which was more money than I'd ever seen in my life. And I was like, why would they pay me so much? I make at the time I was just started making 100 grand a year. So it was 3 months worth of work that I knew was going to take me a weekend. So I
Yeah,
was like, this doesn't make any sense. And then when I gave it to them, he was explaining to me, yeah, but you see, I have a $400 million business. Giving you 25 grand, I will never like I spend that all the time on stupid stuff. And if you give me a little bit of guidance of how I can improve my business, I'll go make millions of dollars off your 25 grand. I don't care. So like for you, if you can resonate with a team of people that are making a company tens of millions of dollars and they paid you to come speak, even if you it clicks with one salesperson or one person of like they want to achieve more because they see you as an inspiration, it's a drop in the bucket. And
yeah,
that's where
no,
it comes in.
yeah, 100%. And again, it was my much more astute wife that
Yeah.
essentially taught me that lesson. And yeah, I think that's a really important you know point for people listening to this. Is understanding what seems unreal to perhaps us is actually very achievable or very attainable or a
Yeah.
drop in an ocean for other individuals or organizations. So yeah, it took me a little while to get my head around that. But
When it's what it you think of it as your time, what your time's worth to you versus what your knowledge is worth to someone else.
exactly that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that diversification, and I mean that stands as true today as it did then. I split my time between running around the European Alps, climbing things like the Matterhorn or the Eiger. I'm off to Pakistan with a client.
How is the Matterhorn to climb? Just as a side note,
Oh, it's
I've been
fantastic.
near it. Yeah.
I mean,
What's the time? How long does that take?
it's normally 2 days from
Yeah.
Zermatt, so you would go up to the
Yeah.
hut, climb it the next day, up and down,
Yeah.
and then back down to Zermatt. It gets a little bit stressful as a guide because it can get
Yeah.
quite busy, and there's only
Yeah.
really one way up and down.
Yeah.
It can get a little bit stressful for the guide, and it's about the hardest thing that we would legitimately guide without a good relationship with the client.
Yeah.
But it's one of the most iconic mountains
Yeah. Exactly.
in the world. It should,
Yeah.
if anybody's interested in climbing, it should be on their hit list.
Yeah.
Amazing history. It's an amazing climb and sits so proud above
Yeah.
Zermatt, Switzerland. So,
Yeah.
so yeah. So
Very
my time today is split between organizing expeditions, executing expeditions, running around the European Alps, guiding mountains such as that. Corporate speaking, and
yeah.
the performance coaching company that we have
Awesome.
for the businesses. So yeah,
And
it's
how many
a
times have
nice
you done? Couple questions. One, how many times have you done Everest?
blend. 19 times now.
Do you think you're going to keep doing it over and over?
I got a client for next year, the
There you
year
go.
after, and I
There you
think
go.
the year after that.
So at least
And
22 times.
then I think we might need to reflect um, on life. Then we
Who?
see.
What is there? Do you hold the? What's the? I guess the Sherpas are going up and down
Yeah,
all the
so
time, right?
I hold the non-Sherpa record.
You do. Okay.
From 9. The absolute record is Kami Rita, and
Yeah.
he's on 30, I think now.
Okay. So you're still not that far behind for some of
Yeah,
these guys.
I think I'm number 9 or possibly number 10 on the
Yeah.
all-time list. So there,
Wow.
I know there's 8 Sherpas in front of me. Then there's me. Then there's a heap more Sherpas, and I think the guy or the two guys behind me in terms of non-Sherpas are Dave Hahn. the American Dave Hahn and Garrett Madison.
Mhm.
Dave Hahn's retired from Everest, but Garrett is based in Seattle. He's still going strong. I think they've got 15 summits apiece,
Got
something
it.
like that. So,
And
I mean, there's only a few idiot Westerners that do it multiple times.
I was gonna say, like, so how long does it take to go from base camp to the top and
Mm.
back? Sorry, and back.
Base camp
Give or
top
take.
and back again is it's normally 6 days, sometimes
Okay.
7 days with a client. But the whole expedition is going to be normally traditionally will be something like 7 8 weeks.
Okay.
Nowadays, it's normally anywhere between like 3.5 to 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Um,
So
certainly when
yeah,
you
but you're not doing that more than, and you also, what time of year do you have to do it? Is it just
oh, you can only
summertime?
do it once a year,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
realistically.
Yeah.
So it's May. So I
Yeah.
would I would
It's May.
traditionally
Got it.
fly out to Kathmandu mid to late April, looking to summit, May 10, 11, 12, 13,
Yeah.
and then home, pretty quickly
Yeah.
after that. Because you've got to let your body, physiologically adapt to the altitude, and that
Yeah.
does take that takes a little bit of time. But then on the way home, you can just hit the eject button. It's not
Yeah.
like diving; you don't need to um, decompress or anything like that. You can get
Yeah.
out there super quick.
Is Kathmandu that airport that they have to back up against the fence and launch off that
Oh,
cliff?
well, that's Lukla. So we go
Lukla.
to
Yeah.
Kathmandu to Lukla, and that's exactly what we do out at Lukla. Yeah,
Yeah.
allegedly the world's most dangerous commercial airport.
I mean, you watch videos of that, it looks like it.
Oh, it's
I'm a
insane.
pilot. I am a pilot, by the way, and that was like watching those videos, just like, oh my god, I feel
Yeah,
like that
it's
should be on your bucket list.
it's like angled at about 15 degrees, I think it is, or 18 degrees. I mean, it's pretty
Yeah.
steep, and you get
Yeah.
these Dorniers revving up, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty. You're sat in it, and you can hear this thing shaking in the pilot because you can look through to where the pilots are sitting. They
Yeah.
they, they like full revs, take the brakes off, and this thing thunders down the
Yeah.
very short runway to get airborne,
Yeah.
um, and then back to Kathmandu, and the landing's just. I mean, there's no go around and look there.
You're right.
It's like you say, it literally is a brick wall at the end of the runway. So
Yeah.
it's kind of you got to stop or
Yeah.
well, do or die, I suppose.
The crazy things. What has been your most difficult climb? Like, where do you have you done K? I've heard things about K2. Have you done
Yeah,
K2?
I mean, I climbed K2 with a client at the end of COVID, so that would have been 21. I think we did
Mhm.
that. Technically a lot harder and I think a lot more dangerous than Everest, without
Yeah.
a shadow of a doubt. But I think probably the hardest big mountain I climbed was Annapurna 3 back in
Huh.
2003. And we had no clients with us, no Sherpa support, no fixed lines.
Was that was the one you were nominated for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very committing.
Yeah.
Still unrepeated. Nobody's attempted it since that particular route.
Yeah.
But in terms of commercially guiding, uh, in the big mountains, I would say K2.
Yeah.
You know, I've been offered, or clients have asked me to go back there with them. I turned them all down. I just think it's a mountain that you've got to be very, very careful on. And
Yeah.
I mean, we've all got a price, don't we? But
Yeah.
no one's come close to my price yet to get me to go
Yeah.
back to that mountain.
And so, a couple more questions for you. Number one, what's next?
Well, we've got Pakistan coming up, which is super exciting. I love that country. As we said right at the start, it was my first touch point to the Himalayas.
Yeah.
To go and explore that is a new area for me. Hushi Valley. I've not been up to Hushi Valley. The Layla Peak is our objective, and to share that with the clients is going to be really really good fun. And as mentioned again, we got Everest looming already. I mean, it's only what 8 9 months away. We've got
Yeah.
Everest, but the one of the big focuses at the moment is the performance coaching company,
Mhm.
Cool company. We're turbocharging that at the moment, so a lot of energy is going into trying to reach out to new clients and help those clients reach, if you excuse the pun, reach new heights,
Yeah.
within their own organization. So that's taken quite a lot of time and energy at the moment. And that's really exciting because
Yeah.
that's kind of moving away from what I'm traditionally known for. Um, and
You said elongating your ability to do it all.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. And it gives me a great opportunity to work with some great businesses out there. And, I work alongside my wife, who's, as I said, way more knowledgeable and astute. I mean, she's been an exec coach for 20 something years, and
Yeah.
to learn from her is a real privilege.
And last question, kind of in that same vein, for what is something you either wish you heard or you did hear that kept you going to reaching all these things? Like, what is that? What it drove you to really go for these, you know, great achievements? And what do you think something you could share?
Well, I think for me, and I wrote a book back in 2015. I mean, 10 years ago now,
Yeah.
and I was kind of writing the book, and I was writing the chapter about my accident when I ended up in hospital. And at one stage, I was told I'd probably never walk without a stick. And when I mentioned climbing, I was laughed at by the doctors, or one specific doctor. And he came into my room at the time, and I asked him these questions. He said, "Well, no, listen, you've got to be realistic. You're never going to climb again." And it absolutely crushed me. And the reason why it crushed me, I only worked this out many, many years later. The reason why I was so distraught is because the community that I knew, my tribe, was all about climbing. And if you removed climbing, the naive little boy, I was 21, 22 at the time, thought that I was going to lose my tribe. And that was such a powerful motivator for me. It wasn't necessarily getting back to the physical act of climbing or climbing big mountains. I realized that I needed, and I think this is true of most of us, as a species. We need that tribal connection. We need that community. Some of us get it online. Some of us get it by going to CrossFit. Some of us the
Mhm.
climbing club, the run club. Some of us get it at work. And for me, that's such a big driver. Um, and and when I started to go into the big mountains, this is like years after my accident. My tribe began to morph a little bit, and some of my closest friends today are my Sherpa friends. These
Yeah.
guys that I've done amazing things with. We risked our lives, we've laughed together, we've cried together, we've seen tragedy and death together. Um, so the ability to spend time with these guys, and they are predominantly guys. There's very few Shapanis work in the mountains. Um, to spend time with these individuals is, for me, so precious. That's one of the driving forces that keeps me going back to the mountains. I mean, I'm going to Pakistan, and Sherpas don't come from Pakistan. Sherpas come
Yeah.
from Nepal. But I'm flying my number one Sherpa across to Pakistan on Saturday so he can be part of the team, because that's how important he is to me.
Yeah.
And that is, for me, one of the key drivers. That power, the connection that we get from a community, whatever that community is. And with the advent of holding up my
Yeah.
mobile phone,
Yeah.
or my iPhone, with the advent of different forms of connection, I think there is a danger that we lose that personal connectivity, which is
Yeah.
so precious to us as human beings.
Totally agree. Well, Kenton, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on Hawk Talk.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure.